Peace, peace, peace. What's going on with the family out there? You are now tuned into G Consciousness Live. It's late night. Y'all know what it is. Um, Man, a lot going on. End time prophecy number three. End time prophecy number three. Um, Man, we got so much going on in the world right now. It's ridiculous. But y'all know what it is. It's time to seek the Lord. That's what time it is. It's time to seek the Lord. That's what time it is. We got so much going on, y'all. Got hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, wars, you know, wickedness everywhere. We need to really discuss a lot of these things, definitely want to hear from the people out there. End time prophecy number three. Make sure my sound putting up pretty good. Peace and blessings to the family out there. Check my YouTube page. Number three. All right, cool. Sound is putting out. Peace. What's going on, brother Tony? Let's see. Let's copy this link. Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about. A lot going on. I know it's Friday night. Everybody chilling. It's just like a weekday to me. Y'all know I get it in. Let's close that out. Let's get this started. Yeah, I'll be up there. All right, cool. I'm just gonna share on a couple of Facebook pages real quick, family. Um, let's go to this right here. Sharing on this one. Let's see. Oh man. A lot going on. A lot to talk about. We got a lot going on in the world right now. Let's see, this debate talk for you. Otherwise than that, how y'all day been? It's been a cool day. I've been with the family. But unfortunately, we got some stuff going on in the world that we definitely need to discuss. Certain things, just going on globally right now. We got some global events going on right now, so we definitely need to discuss some things. Alright, let me get a buffer here. Get back here and post some stuff. Anybody want the link, you definitely can come in. That's something you choose to do. I'm gonna check the chat room again here. All right, cool. So, Brian, what's going on, brother? Peace and blessings to you. So real, what's going on, brother? Let's see. Basically, you know, dealing with biblical prophecy, man. Biblical prophecy, end time prophecy. This is number 3. Dealing with a couple of things that we see that's going on, as far as the hurricanes, earthquakes. We got fires. Oh man. Rumors of wars. We got so much going on today. So we definitely got to address some of those issues. So we're gonna check out a couple of these YouTube videos and really look and see what's going on today, and see if we can address some of these things biblically. What's the deal? Let's see what's the deal. First, we're gonna start dealing with this earthquake thing, because this earthquake thing, it definitely took place in Mexico. So we're gonna start seeing what that is about. Let's check this out real quick. I'm gonna screen share real quick. Let me screen share real quick. Give me a minute. Alright, so let's look at this and see what's going on with this stuff real quick.
NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.
So let's look at where this earthquake happened at. Look at some news clips at least and see. We know this earthquake happened down in Mexico, right? Let's get the size of this earthquake. Let's see. Let's check out this site right here. See what this one got, what they saying about it.
Stop chasing money. You want a mansion. You want a Ferrari.
I don't know why
take trips with your friends and you want
YouTube
to go to Spain or Greece.
Moving so slow like that. That's kind of weird.
This news just in here. There has been an 8.0 or an 8.1. I've seen both reports. Earthquake that happened just off the coast of Mexico. You can see in the map above. It was a little bit to the south of Mexico, and I'll show you the map. But 8.0, there's a tsunami warning out. This information is just coming in, so I'll get it to you as fast as I can. That is a earthquake. I've heard no word on damage or anything like that, so we're going to just try to get you the latest information here. Get it to you. But so give me a second. Let me pull up a couple things here just to give you a better sense of this earthquake. Really just coming on, here's a map. I'm just showing you some different things I'm finding here. Let's go here. So that's where the earthquake is. It's the southern part of Mexico, off the coast there. That's where it is. That's that. Let me just go to my Twitter and just get you some updates about what's happening. And I had read that there was a tsunami warning for certain countries. Our tsunami Pacific Warning Center says, Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, according to BNO News, says widespread hazardous tsunami waves possible after quake off Mexico. Let me make sure you can hear me. Countries, yes, you can hear me. That's good. Widespread hazardous tsunami waves are possible after this quake off Mexico. I'm going to retweet that. Let me see what else I can get you. I can get you any feeds too. Let's just get caught up on. Let me just see if I can find anything else. Here's a tsunami warning here. Warning issued for Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, Honduras countries have a tsunami warning now. That's from BBC Breaking News. I'd love to retweet this. I don't know why I'm not getting the image there. So we have 8.0 or 8.1 earthquake in Mexico. Tsunami warnings have been issued for a number of countries. That's what I know so far. I'm going to try to look and find any kind of reports about damage or anything like this. This is new. This is new from, you can see this. Parts of Mexico City are without power after a major earthquake off the coast of Mexico. Parts of Mexico City are without power. Okay, so that's happening. Tsunami waves again. So I'm going to keep an eye on the tsunami alerts and what's going on in these countries. So let me do a quick check of something here. Just interested in seeing if anyone is, I sort of want to see if there's any kind of live streams going on or anybody's shooting anything about this. I'm not seeing anything in southern Mexico right now. I'll keep looking, but I'm also going to keep looking on Twitter and also just other sources. I want to go to the earthquake map where it does the did you feel it thing. Where is that part of it? Sorry guys, I'm just kind of getting organized with all my windows here because I really just came on because I wanted to get on as soon as possible, so I didn't do much setting up before I came on the air. Here's a shake map. Let's see what that has to say. Tsunami. So this is a shake map here. Okay, this will give us a little. This map is from the USGS site, and what this map is, I believe it is. I think this is based on. I don't know for a fact, but I know there are maps like this that are based on people's reporting. So the scale here, I'll show you the scale. I'll get myself off the screen and show you the scale. The scale that you can see is 6. Yellow is like is moderate shaking, and orange is moderate to heavy shaking. And there are some regions of orange on the coast there in Mexico, which you can see. So, I mean, that's a lot. You know, when you get to oranges, we're getting into 7 or 8 out of 10. And so we see those on the coast. We don't see any red there. So either I believe this might be reported, but whether it's reported from people reporting perceived shaking. So I think this is based on people's reports. But there are no red areas there, which means, which I'm guessing if it was closer to the land where this happened, the stars where it happened, you would have seen more red areas. But that orange is quite significant. I mean, there's plenty of strong earthquakes. We don't really see much orange. So that means people felt a lot of shaking. And you can see if yellow and orange is moderate, and it kind of, so that whole coastline there.
All right, so I want to bring out something real quick because we know that, you know, we're starting to get a little bit off into what biblical prophecy is talking about as far as earthquakes. I'm gonna pull this up real quick. Pull this up real quick. Let's jump over to Mark chapter 13. Watch what it says. It says, and as he went out of the temple, this is Mark 13:1. One of his disciples said unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives over against the temple, Peter, James, and John, and Andrew asked him privately, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled? Right? And Jesus answering them and began to say, Take heed lest any man deceive you. Now we know in these last days there's many deceivers that have gone about, even some in the Christian church. You know, we see the many false religions and many concepts of Gnosticism that has went out. You know, people basically trying to get off into the knowledge thing to obtain some type of salvation by way of their own knowledge or mentality. It says, for many shall come in thy name. It's going to be many people, and we see it now today, people saying that they are Christ. You know, but that's just contrary to what they are. Saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And when ye shall hear of wars, right, and rumors of wars, we're going to talk a little bit about that just as well. Be ye not troubled. In other words, us as believers, we should really be troubled by none of these things, because this book talk about all of those things. And really, from the Bible, one of the things that we know that they remember is what this book say concerning the end times. Most people may say, well, we've been in the last days for thousands and 3,000 of years, so to speak, or whatever, maybe mainly 2,000 years. People say the last days, and they see the term the last days, or when is he coming back? And we got scriptures to say that those that are tired and that are weary continue to grow that way and really mock and talk about the coming of Christ. And it says, we will hear these rumors of wars and hear of wars. But it says, be ye not troubled. We as believers, we shouldn't be troubled. For such things must needs be. It says, for such things must needs be. So, I mean, man, it's telling us right there that must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. Now watch this, what it says, because this is we're seeing these very things. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and that word right there is
ethnos.
Ethnos, right? Ethnos shall rise against nations, and that's where we get our word ethnicity or something like that or whatever. So it says, for nations shall rise against nations, or race against race, basically, and kingdom against kingdom. So not only is it on a lower scale for us dealing with racial things that's in the communities and internationally that's going on, it's also on kingdoms rising up against kingdom. Watch what it says. And there should be earthquakes in diverse places. I mean, man, I mean, what follows right after the earthquakes is, and there should be famines and troubles. So, you know, I mean, we got to look at some of this stuff and say, whoa, like, you know, it seems like the earth is bringing forth these birth pains, and in these pains we experiencing the very nature basically judging the people. And in the scriptures, it's clear. It says these things must needs be. So it says, these things must needs be, right? These are the beginnings of sorrow. So it's not funny, but when you see these things happen, it says these are the beginnings of sorrows. What things it is talking about? Rumors of wars or wars and nations rising up against nations, kingdom up against kingdom, earthquakes in diverse places, famines, troubles. And it says these are the beginning of sorrow. So we're looking at the beginning of something right now. When you look at these hurricanes, earthquakes, I mean, and really, to be honest, it seemed like that right after this eclipse, I don't know if somebody has some type of omen going on, but some type of sign going on, because usually time when the eclipse come in the ancient times and antiquities, it was something that was bad unto the people. It was something to where they knew it was something was going to follow behind the eclipse. And man, it seems to where this has actually happened. And I've even heard that people have even prophetically spoken about some things that will take place after this eclipse. Let me get some of the brothers on in here and see what's really going on, because all right, so have some of the brothers in here to really just what's going on. I mean, like, what's really going on? So it says these are the beginnings of sorrows. Let's look at man. I mean, it's real out here, man. Like, it's serious out here. You know, situation.
It's easy, super fun, and it looks amazing.
Go to Wix.com to create your
or 360 smart bed. It senses your every move and automatically adjusts on both sides to keep you effortlessly comfortable. And snoring? Does your bed do that? The new 360 smart bed is part of our biggest sale of the year, where all beds are.
We got somebody streaming live this situation going on. I mean, what's the deal?
And Sunday.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news. Back now, the breaking news. Forecasters predict Hurricane Irma will strengthen back into a Category 5 storm when it slams into the Florida Keys. National Weather Service warning in a tweet that nowhere in the Keys will be safe. Still have time to evacuate. That's what they said in a tweet. Joining now by phone is George Nugent, the mayor of Monroe County, which is home to the Keys. Thank you so much, Mayor, for joining us. Key West is in danger of being cut off. There's concern about the bridges to the mainland washing out, with boats being the only way out. How do you survive this?
Let me be very clear, based upon what I heard.
Carly Kloss, and I just created my own website with Wix.
Go to Wix.com to create your
It's had a
still here, the people that we need to take care of. And I am only doing that because I can't evacuate and leave my troops here.
Mayor, are you talking about us? Did we say that? We weren't talking about you. Were talking about a resident who lives on the Keys who's coming up, who's saying he's not leaving, not you.
Oh, okay. Well, he's foolish for not leaving because everybody ought to be leaving because of the magnitude of this storm. And I can't believe anybody wouldn't want to get out of here if they had a chance to get out of here because we're imperiled with a very dangerous situation. But I will tell you this, that we are disbanding because it is such a threat that we're disbanding our EOC. We're just temporarily taking a break and getting out of here. The sheriff, the emergency management director, and others are not evacuating.
And that's not really all. We got what is it, Katia over here just hit Mexico, and right on the other side of Mexico we got an 8.1 earthquake, 8.2. We got Irma right here, and then we got Jose coming right behind it, which is, I believe, is at a category 2 now. I believe a category 3, which is crazy. And so tonight, or either I think tomorrow morning or tomorrow night, we're going to see Irma make his way up into Florida. Now, they wanted me to take a load for FEMA going down to Jackson, Florida, and sit there to Monday, which I was like, man, I want to take the load, but this is right in the path, and I can't get that close and not get stuck there right in the path of Irma because it's going straight up that way, which will put me in a bad position at the same time. But I want to get it as close as I can without getting stuck. So they're trying to get loads as close as they can, because what we got to understand is this Irma, right, is coming straight up into South Florida. It's going to hit Orlando. It's going to hit, still going to spread right in the middle of probably Tampa a little bit, but it's going to go right up the middle of and then ease to the right a little bit. But it's said to even hit Atlanta, Georgia, right? So all of these people that's down here at the bottom right here, to even get supplies to them is going to be hard, because who's going to be able to go into that and get them supplies? So that's why they asking people to evacuate the area, because you're not going to be able to get any trucks down into this area already. And then even now, people are trying to come out the area. So it's like, you need to get out of there, because if it's as bad as they say that it is, any supplies to come down there, because right now, for instance, they say, well, we got a load that's going down to Florida. And that's all I heard this morning. That's all I heard this morning from the dispatch. Loads going from 35 and up. 35 is up to almost $8 grand just to get trucks down there, but to get them at the top of Florida right here. And they have to sit there until Monday just to get loads down. And so it's going to be hard to try to get loads down into Florida, especially when there's not even no when it's dry or there's no hurricane that's going on. Nobody goes into Florida except they carrying reefer, because they know a reefer truck or a fridge truck, that's what it's called, a reefer truck. Or now most people might think I'm talking about chronic or something, a weed or something. No, reefer is a truck that has a refrige on the front of it to keep the products or produce or whatever you got, at a good level temperature, cool in there, so it don't spoil and stuff like that. Most time you see that going on in Florida. It's kind of hard to get out of Florida. But even with this going on, it's going to be hard to really go into this place and not get stuck. So most truck drivers, like, if they go in there, let's go in there now and then get me back out of there. But then they might be sitting because there's no freight coming out of there right now at all. So you got this situation going on right here, and they telling people, hey, you need to get up out of here, evacuate, whatever you need to do, because before anybody can get any type of whether if it's medical, food, or whatever down to this to this area, it's going to be once the water start going down. And then Jose coming right behind it. We don't know if it's going to go to farther to the Gulf, into the Gulf, and hit Texas or Mexico or either New Orleans, but depending on where the path of it is going. So that's even crazy. It might go the same pathway. Ain't no telling, depending on where I ain't seen that. But let's look at this a little bit more, man. So we just got all of these troubles and problems going, and that's not even talking about what's going on the West Coast, is just dealing with the fires and different things, and then what's going on, and I believe something happened in Japan. So I mean, I'm talking about it's stuff going on all around the world, like, man, catastrophic. Man, we need to. It's time to seek the Lord.
We have to be here when this situation takes place, and I just wanted to make that clear based upon what I heard. Anybody that is saying that they're not leaving is a fool. Yeah. This storm is going to be very. It's going to change the culture and the geography and everything else of the Keys. And it's going to be a long, protracted recovery. There are going to be people that stay here that are going to die. And anybody that has these last hours to evacuate, which would be between now and the next couple of hours, or at least by tomorrow morning, to get out of here, because this storm is going to kill people if you're still here.
Yeah, and we've seen it before when people get washed out from the storm surge. Usually it's a drowning that kills people, but most people during storms and during hurricanes. There are no rental cars left, no commercial flights leaving the area. Uber even stopped taking customers within the next couple of hours. But Mary, it's getting really close. Is it almost too late to get out of there?
It's almost too late. If you're not out of here by 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock at the latest, you're putting your life in harm's way, and it's just mind-boggling that someone would do that. If I could leave, I just buttoned up my house as best I could, and I'm hoping that things will work out. It's my home. I've been here for 33 years, and I'm a Floridian that hates to leave. But I will be back here as soon as the storm has passed, along with my emergency management director, sheriff, and others.
So, Mayor, you are leaving?
I'm leaving I'm not leaving the Keys. I'm only leaving my hometown of Marathon, because it is the ground center for where this storm is supposed to hit. We're just moving up a little further into the Keys to higher ground. We're not leaving Monroe County.
You want to be there with the emergency officials. This is your town, and you feel responsible, so you want to be there, correct?
Absolutely.
Are you going to go? Listen, we have seen people out in bars. We've seen even some gentleman on a boat saying, you know, I'm going to be fine. I think he's going to try to ride it on a boat. At any point between now and 6 o'clock, are you going to go and try to round people up or try to convince them and say, this is crazy?
I'm hoping people are watching TV, and I know they are, and that message has to be out here. And I praise you guys for being on the air 24/7 and getting this message out. I've been watching TV as I've been buttoning up my house, and this is something that you guys have done a great job over trying to get this message out. And even though I can't get out and knock on doors and tell people that they need to get out of here, I had a ambulance come through here with a loudspeaker telling people to get out, both in English and Spanish, that you shouldn't be here, and telling them that it's a life-threatening situation And I just hope it resonates with these people, and they have a little bit of sanity to do whatever they can to get out of here.
You got some prisoners to move, what, like 500?
We've got about 500. I spoke to the sheriff late this afternoon. They're going to get those guys out of here so we can get our staff, I think, Palm Beach area. I'm not exactly sure which particular area said that they were going to take those prisoners, but we're going to ship them out, and just to allow our staff to get out of the Keys.
Mayor George Nugent. Sound advice. Good luck to you, Mayor. Good luck to you. I'd like to see you get out of there as well. I'd like to see everybody get out because, you know, I mean, if you look at the storm, it is just a monster. I know it's not.
It is. It's a killer.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And if you're anyone in the watching or in the sound of my voice, it's not cute. At a bar, you think it's funny, you're drinking, oh, you're going to be fine or whatever. You're not.
Right.
Life depends on it. You out of the ocean. When we come back, much more on Florida bracing for a direct hit from Hurricane.
Once there was a little pig that had built his house out of straw.
Right, so as y'all can see, man, it's not a joke, it's not a game. So let's look at it. There should be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrows. But take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up into councils, right? And then we get off into basically getting back to what's going to take place during the time of the apostles, as well as basically in the end times, because believers or Christians are going to be so hated, and the world is going to be so upset concerning what's going on in the world. And then you're going to have believers that's really going around teaching, hey, look, the Bible been saying this, that we're going to see these things. And these are the beginnings of sorrows. So that's clear, man. So going on here. So, you know, hold on for a minute.
We would evacuate and we would be sitting in Vegas right now having a good time. But, you know, the reality.
I'm a big critic of government, but, you know, I've been watching now for days, the governor, the attorney general, people like yourself, people like Sheriff Scott and Carmine, and all these people days have been working on this. The people have been listening, and I got to give people credit. You always have these weather warriors that think, oh, they're gonna tough it out. This is not the one to tough out, is it?
And I agree with you. We've had unprecedented cooperation and coordination with a fine group of leadership, and Mike and Carmen are doing it, and Governor Scott and Marco Rubio and Francis Rooney, you name them all. I mean, they're engaged and they're coming to the rescue, and just appreciate all that they're doing. Our number one goal is keeping citizens safe, and this is a very, very serious storm.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I'll be down there as soon as I can. My thoughts and prayers with all my friends down there. They're neighbors of mine, and a lot of love for the whole state. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll have more breaking coverage of Hurricane Irma as it now closes in on the state of Florida and will be engulfing the entire state. We go back to our reporters on the ground next.
Adapt supply chains based on trends, sweeps, and storms, and make adjustments on the fly.
They want to come in, they can definitely come in. Let me check the chat room and see if I got anybody that want to come in. Let's talk about some of these things. What's really going on? What's the deal? What is the deal? See if we got a So, hold on, y'all. Arcane, what? Let me look and see if I can add Arcane there, because I think he got something he want to say. So I added some people in here. I think the back room. What's the deal? We basically talking about Irma, Jose, Katia, or however you say it, the earthquake that took place. There's just a lot going on here. Let's see what the deal is.
The IBM cloud, the cloud for enterprise.
Come with us. Those are my kids. My family needs help.
As we can see that this storm is closing in on Florida next, and these people still have not evacuated Florida. They're gonna ride it, thug it out, I guess. See what your boy Trump is talking about.
Standing by. Call 800-214-9277.
There's a Fox News alert. Hurricane Irma battering Cuba as we speak now, projected to turn into a Category 5 storm before it will make a direct strike on the state of Florida, engulfing the entire state. Joining me now, Key Largo, Florida, our own Adam Housley. Adam, are the people ready, prepared from your position?
Yeah, the ones that are left, Sean, are prepared, it seems like. In fact, the last place we were in, earlier with you, we were live in this building where they had the place called Tower Pizza was still open. They're now officially closed. The last place here is closed. This is their storm shutters they pulled out. They're waiting to latch them up when we're done here. They're going to latch them up, and they're going to start hunkering down. Sandbags are ready to go as well. Really, on this side of the island, the worries about the wind more than the storm surge. They're going to get a surge here, but if you go over to the ocean side, that's where probably the surge is going to be higher. At least that's the forecast. We are seeing a number of cars now. Of course, there's none coming as I'm speaking to you, but we've seen a number of cars pick up heading north to get off the island. So people who waited to the last minute are now doing their last minute preparations and getting off. The bridges are still open here, at least until the winds pick up a bit. They'll say they'll leave them open. And for the most part, Sean, the folks that stayed, and there aren't many who stay here, I will tell you, from Hurricane Andrew, we're told a lot of people stayed here for Hurricane Andrew. This time around, they're just not doing it. They say because of the video they've seen in the Caribbean video that's come out in the last few days, that's really scared them. So they're off the island, especially if they don't have a house or building like this one, which is Category 5 rated, meaning it's not built to withstand a Category 5 hurricane. So Sean, at this hour, preparations are there. Authorities are in place, done everything they can, and now it's time just to ride it out.
All right, stay safe, Adam Housley. Thanks so much. As the Governor Scott has said, get out now. You do still have time. If you're watching this program, don't play with your lives here. Too important. Joining us now, Miami Shores, Florida, our own Steve Harrigan. Steve, what's the latest there?
Sean, the wind getting stronger now since the last time we spoke to you, and across the state, airports are beginning to shut down. The last flight left from Miami International Airport, no flight scheduled Saturday or Sunday. Fort Lauderdale International Airport shut down Saturday and Sunday. And tomorrow night, Tampa and Orlando airports shutting as well. So more and more, the only way to get around this state is on the ground. And we've seen traffic jams and gas shortages across the state, leading to some real snarls on those major arteries, the only ways out to the north. Sean, back to you.
All right, last question. Were they able to get, for example, were they able to replenish the grocery stores and Home Depot, and was gasoline brought in on time to take care of everybody?
There has been a lot of preparation for this and a real different mood about the storm as well. People are visibly fearful, and it's a real tough choice to get on the highway without enough gasoline, without a hotel room, or to stay put where your house could be underwater. And that tension, that fear is visible when you talk to people. People are trying to decide how to save their own lives, how to save their relatives' lives across the state. There's really nowhere to run inside Florida. You have to get out of the state, Sean.
And you've been down there many times during these hurricanes. You know how powerful they were. We saw you nearly getting blown away in Hurricane Harvey in Texas. There is a state app that the governor has set up. If you need gasoline, food, water, supplies, it tells you exactly where to go. When we come back, we'll have more on Hurricane Irma, about to hit Florida next.
It's like nothing you've seen.
So as y'all can see, man, they like, hey, look. Then look, it got the nerve to even go up. Look at the path of it. It's gonna touch almost the tip of St. Louis up there, the path of it, before it get blown probably back east. But it's gonna hit Georgia. By the time to get up to Georgia, it might be a category 2 or 3, probably. But then it's a category 4, but it's supposed to pick up to a category 5 before it hit Florida, I believe they were saying. Then back to a 4, and then going on up and get weaker and weaker, probably so. And as you can see, Georgia is in the path. I mean, that's crazy, y'all. It's crazy. So, I mean, people just need to get out, man, because, you know, if you got kids, don't even try to risk it, especially if you got kids, because that's ridiculous. You know, you got kids, you need to get your kids up out of there. Don't be foolish and think that, because the worst thing you could do is be in this storm in the path of it, and you can't even save your kids. You can't even save your own life. As you say, they got places that you can definitely go. I heard some people complaining about some of the shelters, but I mean, a shelter is a shelter. You know, that's what it is. And so, but you got somewhere to where your life is saved, your kids' life is saved. You know, it's gonna take a while, man. If this storm is this bad as when it hit in the Caribbean, you know, it's gonna take them people probably a year or 2 to even get that stuff back up together, to get it right. Same thing with Houston. Got a lot going on, man. See.
Hour of Nexium 24-hour protection from frequent heartburn, all day and all night. Now packed into a pill so small, we call it.
Re-listening event might be over, but you can turn us back on with packages starting at $6.99 a month plus fees. Just visit SiriusXM.com/GetUsXM to keep hearing all the things that make you love taking a long way home. So visit SiriusXM.com/GetUsXM or call 1-844-479-6669 to turn us back on and up.
Seen something so beautiful that all you could say was, wow, or walked on the world's best beach at a place that made you feel like you were in a dream, where family comes first and fun is measured one ride at a time. Where you're served like royalty, but treated like family. Beaches, Turks, and Caicos, where anything is possible because everything is included. Wow! Get up to 65% off. Call 1-800-BEACHES. Shepard Smith reporting.
Breaking news now on White House today, warning of life-threatening conditions. Extremely dangerous. Suspect is now dead. Someone's not telling the truth.
The facts you know to trust when you need them most.
I'm Shepard Smith. This is Fox News coverage of breaking news.
right, unfortunately for the evening, that's all the time we have left. I want to say this to all our friends and neighbors, fellow Americans in Florida. Our thoughts, our prayers are with you. Please be smart. The governor says you still have time to evacuate. Be smart, stay safe, and stay with the Fox News Channel. Continuing coverage all weekend, Hurricane Irma. We'll see you back here Monday. John Scott, my friend, is next. See you Monday.
Good evening. This is Fox News continuing live coverage of Hurricane Irma. I'm John Scott in New York. The forecast for Florida growing ever more grim over recent hours, with the largest evacuation in state history currently underway. We just got a new storm advisory for a storm that seems to present Florida its worst case scenario. Fox News meteorologist Adam Klotz, he joins us from the Fox Weather Center. Adam?
Hey, John, yeah, we've just gotten the latest update, came in right at 11, so just moments ago, and we have seen a couple of changes. This was just a Category 4 storm, back up now to a Category 5 storm again. That means the winds back up to 160 miles an hour. To be a Cat 5, you need to be at 157 or greater. We just surpassed that threshold once again. Now, currently, you're looking at the eye of the storm running up on some of these outer barrier islands along Cuba. That obviously hasn't weakened it because, again, we did just gain a little bit of strength. We're expecting this to run along the coast of Cuba here through the overnight hours before eventually tomorrow making a turn and heading up towards the state of Florida. Now, we've seen some changes with this path in the most recent update as well. Previously, we were looking at this as being a Category of 4, going over some warm water, perhaps jumping back up to a Category 5. Our latest models are saying it stays a Cat 4, but the difference there is only going to be about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Still will be a massive storm when you run along the ground. Here we are taking you with it, and even this latest model is shifting this a little bit farther off to the west. So we're looking at this being a western side of Florida storm running up the Gulf Coast instead of running up the East Coast. When will it be making landfall? Sunday morning. But I think the conditions are going to start to deteriorate as early as tomorrow morning. So any folks there across portions of southern Florida, you're going to start to notice it tomorrow, even though it won't make landfall until Sunday morning. You see the storm throughout the entire day Sunday and then into early Monday, running up the coast of Florida or running up through the state of Florida into Georgia for you by Monday afternoon. And by that point, things will be all clear. Now notice whether it stays a Category 5 or not, it runs over some warm water here, and this is a very powerful system that runs there on the coast of southern Florida with some of those winds still around 150 miles an hour. And when you get that much wind, you're going to start to see some pulling up of the storm surge. And our most recent models are saying there's going to be spots with 5 to 10 feet above sea level. And with Florida being so low-lying, about 8-9 feet of standing water above the ground in many cases, that's going to put a lot of first floors underwater. So a lot to be paying attention to here, John, as we're looking at hurricane warnings still in place for South Florida. There's a watch there for Central Florida, but I wouldn't be surprised here in the next 24 hours or so if that's turned into a warning as well as this storm moves more and more to the north.
John. So, Adam, a lot of people, they've been told to evacuate in low-lying areas in Florida. A lot of people might say, hey, you know, I've seen the images on TV. I'm not going to go until morning, for instance. You're suggesting that especially for those in the South, if they want to go, they should go basically now.
Yeah, and Florida's so tough because there's basically 2 roads you can take. But the more we look at this, South Florida is going to be impacted. There's no way around that. Storm surge, very strong winds. Folks need to really either have a safe place in mind already, or they need to be hitting the road.
Yeah, as you say, I mean, a storm surge of 5 to 10 feet, that's going to overwash just about everything in the Florida Keys.
Right. You know, so many places when we talk about these storms, 10 feet might not do a lot because the ground begins to rise. This is just very low-lying land. So in Florida, it's unique. 5 or 10 feet can go miles inland. So it's not necessarily just those folks you see right along the coast with houses. It could go quite a ways inland and still be impacting people.
Yeah. When I lived in Miami's Coconut Grove, I was a whopping 13 feet above sea level because I was on some kind of a coral bluff, a very safe place for that part of Miami, at least. Adam, thank you. Let's go to Fox News correspondent Steve Harrigan now. He joins us from Miami Shores, Florida. Steve, how's it looking?
John, the winds are already picking up here. No rain yet. And across southern Florida, 5.6 million people have been asked to evacuate their homes, making for some very treacherous conditions on the roadways. There's been wide-scale gas shortages, traffic jams, people abandoning their vehicles after they've run out of gas, sometimes traffic moving just at about 5 miles per hour. So a very difficult decision for a lot of families, whether to stay in their homes, which could face possible destruction from the winds and then later from the storm surge, or to get on the road, perhaps gas or finding a hotel room. That's how it's been here. The shelters across Miami-Dade County, more than 40 of them have opened up. That's with a capacity of about 100,000 people. Some of those shelters already at near capacity. People have seen the dangerous nature of this storm, its destruction, the fact that it has caused so many deaths in the Caribbean, making one island uninhabitable, knocking down major structures. So they are getting into those shelters and getting into them early, especially shelters which accept pets. Those are filling up rapidly. Some unusual messages too from officials saying first responders, as is traditional, will not go out when the winds are more than 45 miles per hour, and even saying don't call 911 during the peak of the storm because no one will be able to rescue you. Certainly some disquieting messages. And also just the scope of this storm becoming clear from the airport shutdowns. Miami International Airport announced its last flight has departed. No flight scheduled Saturday or Sunday. The same with Fort Lauderdale International Airport. Shut down completely Saturday and Sunday. And now we've just heard Tampa and Orlando airports shutting down tomorrow. John, back to you.
Reporting live from Miami shores. We will have a bit of information a bit later
so
on
that's
pet evacuations and how that is handled in Florida.
That's the deal with that, man. Man, and as we said, you know, you deal with the earthquake thing, and then a fire in California, Oregon. See, this is the latest one. Let's look at this real quick.
Just drove through this massive wildfire just off Highway 84. I tried to get some of it on film. I don't know how much I caught, but the entire side of this mountain was on fire, and it's still in a smoky area. But it was like dark back there where we were. It was really weird. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but absolutely crazy. Never seen something like that. That big of a fire is nuts. Kind of scary. Wow, this entire mountain is on fire right now. Holy crap. Why is everyone?
They said this fire right here, and with the fires also just in California, some people would
All right.
some
So I'm at the Bonneville Dam.
the very smoke. They say they were saying on the news. Some people have seen it all the way over from Cincinnati, Ohio, because the way that the wind is taking it, that's crazy, man. Like you can actually like that. I mean, That's how much the West Coast is on fire. This is Oregon right here. Then we talk about getting to California, Burbank, and all of those areas. So it's just like, man, fires, earthquake, tsunamis, hurricanes. What's going on out there, people? What's the deal? Wars or rumors of wars. And it seems like it's coming back to back, back to back.
Flames from the Eagle Creek fire ripping through Mount Hood National Forest in Oregon. The fire started Saturday and has destroyed 4,800 acres. Officials believe the blaze was sparked by the misuse of fireworks. Heavy smoke has forced the closure of Interstate 84, a major thoroughfare through the Columbia River Gorge.
Actually, I'm not scared. I would be scared if a bear was here. I would.
Not use that massive 747 super tanker to drop some retardant in water.
Sounds like a simple solution. It isn't that easy for a number of reasons. Our Cole Miller looking into it. He spoke with an aviation expert tonight. And what did he have to say, Cole?
Well, Jeff, Jennifer, not only are we talking about federal and state contracts, this plane is already being used down in California, but there's also the visibility issue, steep, dangerous terrain, all things that really make it tough to even consider the idea of using it. The one and only global super tanker. This 747 getting a new take on life. It's the latest weapon in the wildfire battle.
With all these fires going on at the same time, there's a real question whether it's available.
Right now, it's in California, under contract there, keeping plenty busy just 1 week into operation. And ever since that Eagle Creek fire set the gorge ablaze, a lot of you have been asking, why isn't it up here? Just yesterday, Governor Kate Brown telling media outlets the visibility makes it nearly impossible.
The air has been extremely smoky. We have limited ability to use the super tankers.
Besides the contracts and conditions, aviation expert Tom Young says there's more to it.
There's a lot of maneuvering that needs to be done to actually get the retardant on the fire. The overkill for the specific needs of what they're doing.
Young says that super tanker drops at an incredibly high speed, covering 3 miles in just 1 minute. Aside from the sheer size and speed at which that 747 has to move, once it does drop its 20,000 gallons of either fire retardant or water, you have to refill it. And Young says around here, that just simply isn't practical.
And almost takes a fire hydrant or a city connection to be able to do that, or a fleet of tanker trucks. So that's a big thing.
For now, it will stay put down in the Golden State until its deal there dries up. The owner of the plane with this to say.
We've got to attack the fires that we're closest to and get those out. We can't just be jumping from fire to fire to fire and not ending the ones that we're working on.
Well, it is important to note that there are other smaller super tankers out there. They have about half the capacity as that global super tanker there. Many, though, they are still tied up in California as well. Now, when it is released from its contract down there,
Basically comes down to pecking order, the owner with the ultimate say, and where that big plane heads off to next. Jeff, Jennifer, back to you.
We hope we answered some people's questions. Yeah. Good information.
Oh, my.
By the way,
Earthquakes, fires, hurricanes, tsunamis. What's the deal? Look at this.
Have wildfires threatening Los Angeles. It's very hot, and let's take a look at this. Check this out. Let's read this together. This is a crazy, what is that? Let's see. Largest ever LA wildfire spreads to 5,000 acres, sweeps city. Oh boy. The largest wildfire in Los Angeles history is burning its way through the Verdugo Mountains north of downtown LA amid record California heat. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti said, one home was burned, but no injuries have been reported as of yet. Covered close to 8 square miles or 5,000 acres, prompting mandatory evacuations of more than 600 homes in Los Angeles, Burbank, and Glendale. I was going to say, that looks like Burbank. That's where I used to live. That's where I used to live, right there. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Firefighters continue to battle the fast-spreading fire, whose growth was fueled by erratic winds and rising temperatures Saturday. Temperatures already in the triple digits are expected to climb to 110, 115 degrees in the hottest parts of Southern California, according to the National Weather Service. Los Angeles Fire Department Chief Ralph Terrazas said it had been at least 30 years since the region was affected by a wildfire. South. I mean, it's unbelievable heat. Unbelievable heat. High winds drove the vicious wildfire Tuesday. Several hundred firefighters worked to contain a blaze that chewed through brush-covered mountains, prompting evacuation orders for homes in Los Angeles, Burbank, and Glendale. He warned that there was plenty of unburned fuel in the affected area. Our priority is saving people and saving property. Wow, you know, the Warner Brothers lots and a lot of the studios are there. Both Terrazas and Garcetti said the fire, dubbed La Tuna, is the largest in city's history in terms of acreage. We can't recall anything larger, he said. By Saturday morning, the fire was 10% contained. Winds were blowing between 10 and 15 miles an hour. Wow. The wildfire is the largest ever in LA's history, according to its mayor. Terrazas expressed concern about winds and weather. The erratic weather is our #1 challenge, he said. If there's no wind, this is relatively easy fire to put out. But when the wind changes, it changes our priorities because other properties become a risk. The fire burned across the 210 freeway, parts of which remain closed Saturday, according to the report. Officials warned of poor air quality throughout the area and encouraged residents in affected areas to keep their windows and doors closed to avoid vigorous activities in the air. Wow. Wow. I can't believe this. This is right where I used to live. Literally, I'd see that on the 101 coming in to my house, going north. That's like the exact ridge. Let's go ahead and save that one. And then while you guys are here, let's just get a little bit more. Evacuation ordered in Los Angeles. Largest ever wildfire in Los Angeles. One home burned as wildfire grows to 5,000 acres. Firefighters brace for more. Los Angeles brush fire forced hundreds to flee homes. Oh, gosh. Let's go to images. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Unbelievable. I'm out of here.
Man, what's the deal?
Tonight, firefighters battling a blaze spread out over thousands of acres, forcing hundreds of evacuations, destroying homes in what's being called the largest fire in LA history. The so-called Latuna Canyon fire sparked Friday. Fueled by scorching temperatures, low humidity, and high winds, embers hopped California's 210 freeway, creating a tunnel of flames before shutting down traffic. This weekend, the flames marched into neighborhoods.
We got to get this, because if this oak tree goes, it'll carry over, so we got to keep that wet.
More than 1,000 firefighters are on the front lines trying to stop the spread. The ground dropping retardant from the air.
Really, honestly, it's my worst fear.
The fire is burning above Tracy Goldman's home. She and her family spent the day packing anything important.
Our honeymoon picture from 28 years ago, so that can't be replaced.
A few doors down, we walked with Sylvia Gazellian's family, who just evacuated, looking on as flames pushed into their yard.
Can you just tell me how you're feeling seeing the flames right there and knowing that's your house?
Sad. I'm a pastor and I believe we're praying, that's why we're here, so the fire will stop.
The Latuna Canyon fire is one of 74 major wildfires burning in the West, suffering from a record-breaking heat wave. In Oregon, more than 150 hikers were rescued after being trapped between two out-of-control blazes in the Columbia River Gorge. Sunday, the dark skies over LA, a constant reminder of danger as neighbors hold out hope. The worst is over. And tonight, California Governor Jerry Brown issuing a state of emergency for this fire. Meanwhile, crews are making significant progress battling this. With weather conditions finally favorable, officials tell us they could have this contained in a matter of days. Kate?
Steve Patterson out west. Steve, thank you.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
So as y'all can see, we got a lot going on. Man. So let's look at something real quick. Hold on for a minute. Let me get this off of here. Check the chat room real quick. Oh, we got Pit Boss in the house. Pit Boss in the house. I knew this brother was coming. Anytime you get to talk about anything about prophecy, he be over there with William Bell. All scripture is fulfilled. Yeah, okay. You see what's going on around here, man. You know what's going on. All scripture is fulfilled. Oh man, that brother crazy. Yeah, so a lot of things going on, man. Digital Pit Boss, man, he think that Jesus then came already. So let's look at it, right? Oh man. Let's look at some things. Let's go to Matthew 24, the very scripture where your boy failed in Pit Boss when he came on over and he tried to get silly with it. Let's look at Matthew 24. Right. Let's look at Matthew 24. Let's screen share real quick. All right, so look what it says. We're gonna start it from the beginning and get to the nitty gritty, because the gritty is nitty. But Matthew 24, right? Watch what it states. It says, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the building of the temple. So Jesus, he didn't clear the scene already. He didn't went out and departed from the temple and everything. And Jesus said unto them, see ye not all of these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down, right? And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately. So they come into him privately, saying, tell us things be, right? The sign of thy coming and of the end of the world, right? So when shall what things be? The temple being destroyed, the sign of the coming, and the end of the world. And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So these things definitely got to come to pass, the book says, right? And I think this is why you got brothers like Garfield, you got brothers that's out there, man, this in the conscious community, that they hate this Bible, because this Bible, it speaks of all the catastrophic things that's going to take place in the latter days. And they'll mock it. Oh, when Jesus coming? You got even the brother Pit Boss, which is doing the same thing with the foolery, saying he think Jesus coming back, right? And when you ask this brother, Jesus in the kingdom of God was supposed to judge the fourth beast. When did that happen? It didn't happen in 70 AD, because the fourth beast, which was Rome, was actually judging Israel, right? And they scattered and sent Israel away. So why is this brother saying in 70 AD all scripture was fulfilled, when it clearly talks about in Daniel chapter 2 and also Daniel chapter 7, the judgment of the beast, right? Which is talking about Rome, the fourth beast. So when did that fourth beast get judged? Let alone, when did in 70 AD there were 10 kings, right, who Christ was supposed to come back and they're supposed to reign 1 hour with the Antichrist, and Christ was supposed to come back and deal with them. When did that happen? In that order. Pit Boss ain't gonna do it for you. He don't know when it happened. He gonna make up some stuff. He gonna make up a couple of names and say this happened there, and he gonna be wrong about it, right? Let's look at it. It says, and he said, it says, for all these things must need come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there should be famines and pestilence. Now we dealt with biblical prophecy, or the end time prophecy, on number 2 concerning the riders or the horsemen. Go check that out in end time prophecy number 2. You can check that out. Well, I talked about the seals concerning the Antichrist, wars, famine. You know, I talked about all of those things. Death, plagues, and all types of stuff. You can go check that out on end time prophecy number 2, right? So it says, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. Now most people think, well, this is just talking about the first century Christians. But that's not the case. It is talking about them, but it's much more than that, because this is also talking about the end times too, to where those that believe on Christ, those that believe on the word, will be hated by all men and will experience, as most of those first century Christians, also second century Christians experienced. Well, I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, yes, second century, because in the second century, matter of fact, even in third century, we had Christians that was being persecuted after the apostles for the very word of Christ. So they'll tell you, well, this is just talking about those first century saints or apostles. No, they was getting persecuted after just as well, until Christianity became a legal religion to practice it. And even with that, Christianity will eventually once again become something that will be illegal and won't be tolerated, and persecution will start up again, because the biblical text says so in the book of Revelation and also in Matthew. So these scriptures are not just for first century saints, but also for us. That's why we read them here today, because they're for us. That's why people was inspired to write these things down, so we may have instructions on how to overcome when we see the very thing is right at the door. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another. We're going to see a lot of offense. We see it now. People are offended. Offended for the word of God, because they certain things ain't taking place like it should in their life. And so we're going to see what proceeds after that is betrayal. People betraying each other. Why? Because famines, sorrows, people just trying to save their life. The Bible says he that try to save his life shall lose his life. And one of the ways that people are going to try to save their life in these last days is by way of bread, by way of eating. Some people, they don't even care. Some people don't care about hurricanes or earthquakes. They're going to go out to the club tonight. They're going to kick it. They're going to do all types of things, all types of manner of sins. Like ain't none of this going on in the world. Just like the Bible says, it's going to be like in the days of Noah and also Lot, where people just partying and kicking and like ain't nothing going on. And then wrath going to come on them. And shall hate one another. You see the hate that's going on. And shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. We got many false prophets that's out there rising. You got people that's out there talking about that they're teaching the gospel, but they're teaching another gospel and mainly teaching black nationalism rather than teaching the gospel, which is the power of God unto salvation. And because iniquity should abound. In other words, iniquity should abound. Man, wickedness everywhere. Every false way, everywhere. And so because the people are going to see this iniquity, this abounding, they're going to be like, where is the Lord at? Where is he at? And a lot of these people are not going to follow Christ. It's going to be the people who's going to look on at the news, who's going to look at the media and see all the things that's going on, nation against nation, wars, riots. The Bible says all of these things must needs be. And it's the beginning of sorrows. People dying, family members dying, mothers dying, kids dying. And people going to be offended at God. Mad at God. And the love of many is going to wax cold. People going to betray each other to live and save their own life. This is what the Bible was talking about. This is biblical prophecy. And this gospel of the kingdom should be preached in all the world for a witness to all nations. It's important that we preach the gospel. It's a witness for all nations. So no one is without excuse when they stand before God. Why? Because a witness was out there teaching and talking to these people. Preaching the gospel. And it says, and then shall the end come. So no one is not going to have an excuse. Why? Because this thing is going to be spread all over the world. The Bible says you're not going to be going into Jerusalem. It's not going to be all the way going through until Christ comes. When it comes to concerning this gospel. It says, therefore, when you shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. It says, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel. Pitboss ain't got no answer for that. When did the abomination of desolation happen in 70 AD that was spoken of by Daniel? We can look at Daniel 9:27 when it says, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, which is talking about the Antichrist, or the little horn, or the prince that shall come. The people came, they destroyed the city, but the prince that shall come, the people of the prince that shall come, that prince shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of 1 week, he shall cause a sacrifice and the oblations to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate. He's going to make the altar desolate, the temple desolate, even until the consummation, even until after the 78, or even until the very moment of the 70 AD is fulfilled, or the last week. 70 weeks is fulfilled, or the last week. And that eternity should be poured upon the desolate. In other words, God will pour wrath upon that make desolate, which is the Antichrist. He's going to destroy the Antichrist. So the abomination of desolation that Matthew was talking about when Christ was talking was pointing back to Daniel 9:27. It's going to cause the oblations or the sacrifice to cease. What temple was that talking about? 2 Thessalonians 2:4. Who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. What is that talking about? That's talking about the temple, the third temple that they're going to build. The third temple, the Antichrist is going to confirm a covenant with many and going to cause them to be able to build that temple so that there be peace. And he's going to break that covenant and come into that covenant, come into that temple and say that he is God and stand in that place. Daniel 9:27, 2 Thessalonians 2:4. And also when you read Revelation 13, it talks about the beast that sets up the false image, which is the Antichrist that sets up the false image. And he's going to cause that place to be abominable that we're going to see concerning that third temple. The two witnesses in Revelation 11, they protect the temple for a while because the temple is measured, the altar is measured, and the people therein is measured. But the outer courts is given over to Gentiles to be trodden down for 42 months or 3.5 years. Well, after that 3.5 years is up, the witnesses or the two witnesses that protect that place, they're going to be killed. And that's when the Antichrist is going to break his agreement and come into that place and establish that place as his own and set up his image and his system. 2 Thessalonians 2:4. So it says,
Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. As I stated to Pit Boss, this is something that Israel has always done when people have came. This ain't the first time someone came into Jerusalem. Antiochus or Antiochus, he came there. Epiphanes. Other people have came into that. Nebuchadnezzar and them. And these guys always fled into these mountains. Always. They're going to flee again in the latter days. Let him which is on the rooftop or housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. He let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. If those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall rise up false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. So there's going to rise up false Christs and false prophets, and they're going to show forth great signs and wonders. Insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. I mean, I'm talking about they're going to be trying to deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning come out of the east, and shineth even into the west, so also should be the coming of the Son of Man be. So it's clear, when Christ comes, just as you see every day, the very sun, right? Coming out of the east and shining even into the west. You see it every day. That's how visible the coming of Christ is going to be. Not in some figurative sense. You're going to know that he's coming. The glory is going to show you that he's coming. For whatsoever the carcass is, there will be the eagles. There will be the eagles be gathered together. There will the eagles be gathered together. I'm sorry. Now watch what it says, verse 29. This is what the brother Pit Boss was stuck on. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Everything in the heavens shall be shaken. The moon, the sun, blood moons, eclipse, asteroids, meteoroids. Things happening catastrophic. And remember, when the stars get to tripping, the earth gonna get to tripping, because it's all connected. Weather patterns that we're gonna see, like we're seeing now, famines. Watch what it says. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. Now this brother got people thinking that this is just talking about Israel, not knowing that the tribes of the earth is talking about everybody on the earth gonna mourn. This brother got y'all thinking something else. It teaches something else. And teaching something else, basically. Let's look at something. let's look at something. Oh man, what is this? Hold on real quick. So as I stated before, you see it says, verse 29, it says, the tribes of the earth, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and with glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds. Now notice it said immediately after the days of those tribulation. So immediately after the tribulation, right, we see that the Son of Man should come. That's after 70 AD. The Son of Man shall come. And I'm sorry, not after 70 AD. That would be after 70 AD if this brother Pit Boss was telling people that 70 AD fulfilled all prophecy. But it just told you immediately after that the Son of Man should come. And it says that he should gather together his elect from the four corners of the earth. That has not happened. Because when we look at scriptures like 66 and 19, watch what it says. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pool, Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal, to Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard of my fame, neither have seen my glory. And they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horses and chariots and litters and mules and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain, Jerusalem, said the Lord. As the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel unto the house of the Lord, and I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, said the Lord. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, said the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, said the Lord. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of them that have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall the fire be quenched. They should be an abhorrent unto all flesh. So this scripture is where pit boss have a problem with, because it's telling you that this is when God is going to gather his elect, right? From one end of heaven to the other. That's what it's talking about. When you read 52:7, it says, how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publish peace. That bringeth good tidings of good, that publish salvation, that saith unto Zion, thy God reigneth. So we see that in various scriptures that, what's going to befall in the last days. Look at Isaiah 2, what it says. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it. And many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and the house of the Lord God of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people. This stuff is going to take place, right? during the millennium reign when Christ is putting down all rebels. Christ has not come yet in 70 AD. Matter of fact, let me prove to y'all something right quick. It says, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Come on now, pit boss. We still on the verge of seeing wars and rumors of war. So you really think Christ came back? You just got stopped right there. See, this is why they don't like to read the New Testament. And when they do, I mean the Old Testament, because the Old Testament stops them and lets them know. Ain't no way, pit boss, that you going around telling people that nations ain't warring against each other right now and that Christ already came back. When he just said when Christ come back, he gonna stop all of this stuff. And the last war we gonna see is when the Satan is loose from that 1,000 years, and after that he gonna put all the rebels up under his feet, and God, and then the last enemy is gonna be death. Do you see men still dying today? They still dying today. So how has Christ came back and he ain't put all enemies up under his feet? The fourth beast is still out here, and you telling people that Christ then came back in 70 AD. And we got stuff like this going on. Wars, famines. You sure you might want to rethink that argument. You might want to rethink that. Seriously. Let's look at Zechariah 8:23. Thus said the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men should take hold out of all the languages of the nations, and should take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. That ain't happened, bro. So let's go back to Matthew. It says he would gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heaven unto the other. That ain't happened yet, bro. So watch what it says. Now learn the parable of the fig tree, which his branch is yet tender and put forth leaves. Ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near even at the doors. When you shall see all what things? Things he talked about above. Now that generation did experience and see those things. That's the generation that should not pass until those things are fulfilled. It says, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all things be fulfilled. You thinking that it's that generation. No, he's talking about those generations that's going to see all of those things. That generation. That's what he's talking about. Now watch what he says. But of that day and hour know of no man, know not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But if the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. But as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking. Now, you couldn't possibly be talking about, this is talking about this Daniel 70 week, because Daniel 70 week is Daniel's clock. And when you look at Daniel's clock, it tells you basically what's going on with Christ and when the 70th week is going to be fulfilled. But when you look at Christ coming back after the 70 weeks, after it's done, we don't know when that day may be. Christ didn't even know. So 70 AD ain't gonna be it, bro. You got something wrong. Something ain't right. We know already about the deal with the temple being destroyed in 70 AD. because it was prophesied. But you got a situation on your hand, buddy. It says, but as the days of Noah were, so shall all the coming of the Son of Man be. But as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. They was just living man. Not saying there's nothing with marriage or marrying, but these people was just living like it was nothing going on. Right? Because I know things was catastrophic in that day because of sin. And it says, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, then one taken, and the other left. Right? Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth coming. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken into, or house to be broken up. So, I mean, you know, we can see what's really going on. But let's look at some things real quick. Because Luke, he brings out some things. But Luke kind of going a lot on the temple in 70 AD. Because watch what Luke says in 17 to 27. He says they did eat, they drank, they married wives. They were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, also, as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built it. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven. So in the last days, there's going to be a lot of homosexuality, basically. And we've seen there's a lot of that going on. Even in Israel, it's going to be called spiritually Sodom and also spiritually Egypt. Spiritually Egypt because of the different many of gods that's going to be in Jerusalem in the outer courts, and also Sodom because of homosexuality. It's going to be a lot of homosexuality in the last days. So let's go and look at something real quick. Let's go back over to Luke 21, and we're going to wrap this up. Let's look at 5. It says, and some spake of the temple, how it was adorned. This is Luke 21 and 5. How it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts. He said, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come, in that which there shall not be one stone left upon another, that shall not be thrown down. And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? Will there be when these things shall come to pass? And he said, take heed that ye be not deceived. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified. For these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then said unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilence, diseases, famine, earthquakes, fearful sights and great signs should there be from heaven, right? Fearful sights and great signs. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to synagogues and to prisons, being brought before the kings and rulers for my name's sake, right? And it shall turn to you for a testimony, right? So he's telling them before these things be, this is what's going to happen. In those times and in those times. And remember, people have been persecuted for the word's sake for the longest. And right now, it's light affliction. But eventually, it's going to be affliction to where you're going to be tested. And you take that mark of the beast, you out of there. You're going to be tested. Because the book of Revelation 14 talk about that. You're going to be tested. It says, settle it therefore in your hearts not to meditate before what ye shall say. Answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which your adversaries should not be able to gainsay nor resist. And you should be betrayed both by parents, brethren, kinfolks, and friends. And some of you they cause to be put to death. That's going to happen. You're going to be hated in your own household for what you believe when it comes to this Bible. It happened back then to the apostles. It happened to Christ. So don't think that it's not going to happen to you, because it's definitely going to happen. And you should be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not an hair of your head perish, and your patience possess you your souls. Right? And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolations thereof is nigh. The desolation thereof is nigh. Then Jerusalem will be destroyed. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. And let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled, right? What Christ spoke about, it was going to take place, and also concerning certain things, scriptures that talked about the temple that was going to be destroyed, and Daniel when it says the people of the prince shall come, and he's going to destroy that city. But woe in the temple, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there should be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, the Bible says, and shall be led away captive into all nations. Now notice it says here, they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive, right, into all nations. Now, if you look at this very text, Matthew 24 says that when Christ comes, he gonna gather together his elect, right? Immediately after the days of the tribulation. This one says concerning the temple is gonna be destroyed, and they're gonna be led away into all the nations. Now, Matthew 24 also talks about all the tribes of the earth shall mourn at the coming of Christ. So these two things are talking about two different events, but similar things are going to take place during 70 AD, the last days. Just like Antiochus Epiphanes is mentioned as being almost like the Antichrist, and that some of the things that he did, and so he has some type of similarities. Well, these very two chapters have similarities, but one of them is talking about 70 AD, somewhat of the temple and the end times, but we see this one talking about the end times, the temple, but you know, you see how it's put it in context. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. Israel was led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem should be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So Jerusalem right now, right, is going to be trodden down of the Gentiles. In other words, the very people that's in that land, if they don't want in that land, they trodden down that place. The only one who's going to get them people out that land is Christ. Israel trying to get them out the land, they can't do nothing about it. They still in the land. And they ain't trying to serve the God of Israel, nor is Israel at this point trying to serve the God of Israel. They trying to do things in their own strength. And that's the problem with that. And there should be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations. Notice it says distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves, because now after he talking about Israel and the time of the Gentiles, them being led away, now he begins to go back to what's going to take place overall with all men. Men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens should be shaken. Now he's getting back to, we dealing with the totality of judgment of all men and the wrath of God. And then should they see the coming of man in the cloud with power and glory. You can look at the very scriptures, Revelation chapter 19, and also you can get off into what is it, Zechariah 14, and you can see the very coming of Christ with 10,000s of his saints. It didn't happen in 70 AD. It didn't happen in 70 AD. And when it says, and when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption drawing nigh. And he spake to them in the parable, behold, the fig tree and all the trees, when they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is nigh, is now and nigh and at hand. So the very generation, it says, this generation not pass to all be fulfilled. So the very generation that we're going to see this at that time is going to see these very things take place. That we see men's hearts failing them for fear, and there should be signs in the sun, the moon. This is this from 26 to 25 to down to that generation is what it's talking about. It says, for a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. That didn't happen in 70 AD. Watch what it says, and take heed to yourself, lest any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life. Notice he says that, cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be counted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. This is what this is talking about. So 70 AD talks about the scattering in Luke 21. Luke 21, 29 talks about the scattering. Well, not 29. What is it? 24 talks about the scattering of Israel. Luke 21 and 24, whereas immediately after the days of those tribulations in Matthew 24 and 29, it talks about the gathering of Israel. Watch what it says. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and glory. And he shall send his angel with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. And so we see the gathering of him in Matthew 24 and 31 at the end times. And there's other scriptures to actually back that up, that he's going to gather them in the latter days. And those are very scriptures that these brothers really don't want to deal with, because they know they're going to have a problem with that. They know they're going to have a problem with that. He says we have the victory over death now, but we still dying. He says the last enemy is death. This brother Digital Pitballs do not know what he's talking about. He never wants to talk about what about the other enemies that need to be judged as far as the beast system. He don't want to talk about that. And see, what he don't know is this is basically talking about physical death. Pitballs is real silly, man. Sitting back here look like an upside down 2-liter. Talking about Christ came back already. Here look like an upside down root beer 2-liter bottle. Talking about Christ came back already. Talking about morning tea. Looking real silly. Over there trying to rap and do all this silly crap. And he's a mess, Pitballs. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Over there still wearing probably over there wearing boxers with suspenders strapped to him in the house, butt naked, looking stupid, looking old and silly with them diabetic socks on. Oh man, she meant like Irma done been up in your crib. Hurricane Irma done been at the house. You walking around, the basement flooded. You walking through water with them diabetic thick socks on. You got a tent set up in the bedroom upstairs. Posh and pants hanging off of clothing lines. You got a clothing line in the house with pots and pans hanging off of. You running through the house with a with a Kool-Aid spoon banging on pots. Boy, you silly, man. Oh man, people are silly, man. That boy, you's old and you silly, man. You's a silly dude. Her bumps up under your chin. You shaving with them silly little razors. With one of them, what is it? Them old color purple blades you putting super tight, skin tight against your skin and bumping you up. Got your face looking like a slick end table or something. Face look like the end of a corner of an end table. He's a silly dude, man. What's going on, Brother Jay?
Ain't not much, bro. Who you ragging on, man?
I'm talking about old pit boss, old fossil with them dentures in his mouth. He get on that show, man. He got to put them dentures in first before he talk.
Oh man,
keep them dentures in that water. Soon as the show soon to come in, he throw them dentures in there. They don't even stick in his mouth no more. He got to put a little glue in them, put them up in his mouth. Man, that boy be biting down on corn and oats come out stuck in the corn. You hear me?
typewriter mouth. Yeah. Oh, fossil face. Boy, you said, yeah, you a silly dude, Pit Boss, man. Don't make me go in on you, man. You walk around the house with a scarf on your neck, man. Ain't even went outside.
Check you that neck on.
You ain't butt naked with a scarf on his neck with cowboy boots on. Running through the house, beating no pans and pots. Boy, shit, that boy got a jungle rope in his house connected to the chandelier, swinging off the top banisters onto the couch, doing flips and stuff. Boy, silly, man. That boy got them dentures soaking in some Alka-Seltzer. He's sitting up soaking them dentures in some Alka-Seltzer. No, matter of fact, he can't even afford that. He can't get with the Alka-Seltzer. He got some dish liquid. He got his dentures soaked in some dish liquid. You hear me? Oh man, I'm done, man. Don't make me do you like that, man, because I will go in on you, Pit Boss, because I heard you when you did that show and you was really going in, man. But I seen you, man, when you smiled, man, your teeth almost came out. Oh man. False prophet with false teeth. I'm done, man. Go ahead. What's going on with you, though, Brother Jay?
Man, not much, man. Just joined the family. Mom and dad came down, and we were very busy with that. And man, looking at this hurricane, man, about to hit Florida, man. You know?
Yeah, we was just actually talking about that, man. We was talking about, man, that you got the you got the fires just to the west.
Yep.
Man, I'm talking about in Oregon. You got them down in Los Angeles. Then you go to Mexico. They had an 8.1 or 2 earthquake. Plus, they finna get a hurricane. It's finna hit that place.
Man.
You got Hurricane Irma, tow up Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Then you got also right after that Hurricane Jose. And then that ain't even it. You got stuff going on that's going on in Japan. I believe something happened in Japan. We didn't even get to that stuff tonight.
Man.
And then also talking about wars and just the wickedness that's rising up. And so we was just dealing with some of those things tonight, man, to where at the most, man, it's just so much stuff that's going on, bro. Like we can't say that, man, this stuff ain't, this stuff is just, it's just, man, we just wipe it off and say, oh man, these are just things that just happen. Nah, man, this stuff is just, it's happening too often.
Yeah, man. I was thinking about that the other day, man, when I think it was right after Harvey hit, and then I saw the news and I saw the clouds and stuff. You know, when they was focusing on one hurricane, they didn't even really start talking about Irma and the other stuff yet at that time. But you could see the rotating clouds in the ocean when they be talking about Harvey, and all the stuff was going on with that, and you know, and then they identify and say how I think the thing that's kind of like, man, is that these aren't no like little storms, man. These things are max storms, man. You know, Harvey came in. I think Harvey hit at a 5 or 4, one of them, and Irma's at 5 right now. Supposed to hit some, or supposed to go down to a 4 after they kind of tear up the islands there. But they said, you know, they're supposed to go back into warm water and regain strength, and may possibly hit Florida at a 5. And that's gonna kind of do a little slice along the East Coast, run up Florida and then Georgia and stuff. They done shut the airports down there. Made Georgia and South Carolina state of emergencies. So my mom and them, they might have to end up staying this way a couple more days, because I'm pretty sure they're going to cancel their flights, because they're actually supposed to fly into Georgia and then fly into South Carolina. That's where I'm from. And so they might have to be here a little longer till after that storm passed. But they already made them state of emergencies, man. Of course, you know, people have sucked up the gas, so they can't get no new gas. So people's like abandoning their cars on the highways, trying to get out of Florida, you know, because they ran out of gas and the traffic's moving so slow and the storm's so close. The wind already picked up. Now I was just seeing all this stuff, man. These are max storms. These ain't no little tropical storms. You could be like, oh, okay, you know, it's a little weak storm, man. These things are massive, and for them to be hitting like back to back like that, man, and just like how you pointed out, man, the hurricane, the earthquake that happened down in Guatemala, and then I mean, there's a lot going on at one time, man. The fires, like you said, so it's like you're not catching a break, man. It's you know, Most High's definitely using his creation to send a message, man, and you know, we see this stuff, man. If anything, man, it should be hopefully causing brothers to, you know, and sisters to rethink over over their lives, man, and where they at, and whether or not they're in the faith or not. Because if you ain't, man, I mean, the only protection you got from these storms, man, is really God, man. Either protection because, you know, you're His, or out of His sheer mercy. So either way, even if you are His, it's by His mercy anyway that you're being saved and all that other stuff. So, man, it should really make us look over the decisions that we make or the way that we live in and all that kind of stuff, because these storms are hitting back to back to back, and we don't know what's going to come tomorrow, man. You know, the people in Guatemala, I'm pretty sure they was paying attention to the hurricane actions and didn't expect a massive earthquake to shake them up like it did. And man, I've been seeing all kind of footage, man, people putting out there with Irma, man. As we know, it tore up the islands, man. It made one island uninhabitable, man. But man, I seen one picture. I don't know what was going through this guy's mind. I'm pretty sure he died. But hurricane was shaking his truck. It was like a bread truck or something like that, or imagine like a FedEx truck. And it was like rocking it back and forth. He's standing on the other side, got the nerve to be trying to press his weight against the truck. Bro, that's like 100+ mile winds, bro. You ain't winning that battle. He's sitting there trying to hold the truck on the other end, and that wind, man, pushed that truck right on top of that dude, man. Now, I'm pretty sure he died, man. But
yeah, I seen that, man. Where was that at? Where was that one at?
Man, I seen on Facebook. Let me see if I can find it, man.
Right, because I seen it and I was like, man, why would that dude try to push that truck over there like that?
Bro, I would have used that truck as a shield and take off, man. At least if you staying in line of that truck, that wind impact ain't hitting you as hard as when you out of line of it. And I don't know what was going through his mind. Let me see. See if I can find that real fast. See people talking about it on Facebook. Let me see if somebody posted a video. Let's see. Yeah, man, these storms ain't nothing to play with, man. You know, we got Lord's will, Lord protect brother Faithful. He out there in Orlando, and you know, so he said he gonna ride it out. You know, so and the other people that's out there as well, you know, Lord have mercy on the people, man. Because tell you one thing, man, I probably would have been one of the people that get up out of there, man. The only major hurricane I've ever been part of, and I was too young to remember it. I was 2 years old when Hugo came and ripped up South Carolina.
Well, we got Flat Out Elected in the chat room. Let me say this real quick, because I think Flat Out Elected, are you good down there, man? Because I remember you was telling me that you are from you actually stay in Puerto Rico, I believe. How's everything going with that, man? I know it hit y'all hard. I believe you know, if this is Rand Campbell, you know, how's everything going with that, man? If you want to, man, I can give you the link and you can come in and really speak about those things, because, you know, from my understanding, I think that you said that you are from that area. But go ahead, Brother Jay. I'm gonna wait for him to say something, see if he want to come in and really speak on the situation down there, because I know he's definitely from that area. Brother Jay, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. People was talking about it, but I don't see that link, man. I'll scroll down my Facebook feed, but that's where I saw that, and I was like, man, you know, bro, that truck ain't that important, bro. If you got insurance, you'll be all right. Man, get up out of there, man. He probably wouldn't be able to get that far in that kind of wind, man, anyway, but that was a foolish move to try to think he was going to be able to keep that truck from rocking over. But, you know, there's different things that's happening like that, man, and just like you said, you know, this stuff, because the news we showing, obviously we're in America, so they're more concerned about the things that's affecting this land. So of course, you know, the news stations are focused on that. But you know, like how you brought up, I'm going to look it up, see what was going on in Japan and stuff. You know, we know they have them tycoons and all that kind of stuff on that end. It's just so much going on, man. I mean, you have in India and in I forgot the other spots, but they had a lot of flooding as well, man, from the storms that they've been dealing with. So I mean, you got the mass flooding in Houston, you got the flooding, you know, in the islands. Obviously, they're covered by water. The hurricane pushed all that water on there. But you got all that flooding and stuff going on. You got the wildfires over on the West Coast. You got hurricane about to tear up the East Coast. You already got in the Midwest hurricane, tornado valley, and all that kind of stuff going on during the year anyway. So it's all these what they call natural disasters. But you know, scripturally speaking, we know that that's the Lord doing that destruction. And you got the people over in India, you know, flooded. You know, I seen one video where it caused a mudslide and took almost all the road. It was like a little piece of the road left, and people were taking their chances running across it to try to get on the other side with the rest of their families. And so a couple of people made it over, but one family they was running across, and the rest of the piece of the road gave out in the mudslide. The man made it over, but the daughter and the mother fell in, and you can see them kind of floating with the current. I don't know if they survived or not. You know, the way that the current was going, it would have pushed them into some kind of grass, trees looking area. So I don't know if they ever made it there. But you got them type of natural disasters happening, man. Well, what we call natural disasters happening, man, tearing up. And it seemed like it's all going on at the same exact time, man. You know, normally it would be like, oh, something happened in Japan. They had some like crazy earthquake. But over here in America, you know, kind of like ain't much going on. We got a little thunderstorm or something like that, or something that's normal like Tornado Valley or even wildfires in California. You know, for us, that's kind of normal because it seems like they have them all the time. But you know, you have the biggest wildfire that California's ever had in history. You have that going on. They're trying to fight that at the same time. You just had the catastrophic Harvey incident situation, and then you got these other hurricanes coming in, Irma coming in, blasting the islands and the coast up, and the stuff going on in India. All this stuff, these major storms are all happening at one time, man. At the same time, where you got the leaders up above, you know, these whatever, you know, the people that run things, talking about war, talking about ballistic missiles, all kind of stuff that people's tested and all kind of stuff and ready to use, all this kind of stuff going on, man. And you got people running around talking about FEMA camps and all this kind of stuff. You got some areas talking about martial law, making curfews, obviously, like in Houston, they got curfews. You got all this kind of stuff going on, man. You got the military patrolling, obviously, when they have these type of events, and they make a curfew. So you got all this stuff, major things going on at one time, man. And for somebody to brush that off as just some normal stuff, obviously ain't paying attention. And just like Deacon said earlier before I came on, you know, that's just as what Christ said about, you know, the days of Noah and the days of Lot, man. Everybody was doing their own thing, especially like with Noah, obviously, time because it had not rained upon the earth yet. So, you know, obviously it was something that had never happened to nobody, you know, experienced. So, of course, it seemed like some foolish talk. Just like with the day of Christ, no man has ever experienced it. We don't know what it's going to be like. All we know scriptures say is it's going to be darkness and not light. But in terms of experiencing it, no man has ever experienced it. So for people that's out there talking about, you know, the day of Christ coming and the mass destruction that's going to happen and blah, blah, repent, people brushing it off. Man, ain't nobody, man, that's fairy tales, you know. It's hard to imagine. So then people continue on in their follies until, just like with the day of Noah, when the rains came and the waters rose, then they remember what Noah said, and they was ready to jump on that ark that he'd been telling them to repent, and possibly would have been on as well, like his family, but it was too late. God closed it. Why? Because obviously Noah, you can imagine, you know, the scripture don't tell us how much amount of people was knocking on the ark trying to get in, but just one person, you can imagine, if you have any kind of compassion for people, you would want to open that door and let people on. Because, you know, to imagine the waters rising, all you hearing is people screaming, and then you don't hear them no more because they've been washed up. You can only imagine what kind of psychological thing that would do. and the Lord himself had to close that door on that ark, because Noah probably would have let him on and have compassion, but it would have put everything into jeopardy. It would have possibly opened it up and the waters rushing, kill all the animals, God saving. I mean, it could have been catastrophic, man. Would have definitely wiped out Noah and his family if they got caught in the thing for being disobedient, and got caught in the waters. And where would we be today? We wouldn't be here. So, you know, all that type of stuff. The same thing today, man. You know, people partying and getting drunk and all kinds of stuff. They're pushing all this stuff off as, you know, oh, it happened to them, or it happened over there in Guatemala. I ain't feel it. You know, so they continue on in their folly, man. But, you know, the day when day of Christ come up, you know, it's going to be a lot of people like, oh, Lord, I'm sorry. It's too late, man. The period of grace has run out. And they really should be thinking about this stuff right now, man.
Right. You know what? You know, a lot of people been saying basically, like I got in the hangout, dude says, he's talking about, is it the Lord or is it CERN, HARP, or NASA? So basically, a lot of people think that these storms were basically engineered. I know that there is probably definitely technology out there that can cause devastation to the earth. You know what I'm saying? But when you start talking about like wind patterns and stuff like that, see, here's the thing. Scientifically, or even when you start talking historically, there is ancient Egyptians believed that we can only conquer nature so long. Eventually, nature will overcome us. In other words, we can only conquer, like for instance, if a flood happened, the ancient Egyptians will basically, you know, build canals and to offshoot the flood waters. But there's some natural events that you just can't overcome. You know what I'm saying? It's going to happen. And so as we start getting off into latter days, and this earth is degenerating, and nature itself is having all of these problems because of basically it's not in harmony with each other, because everything is out of harmony, especially man, and we're not in unity with nature. And one of the ways we know biblically that we're not in unity with nature is because it says when we put forth our hand to till the ground, it will not yield forth its full strength. So we have to come up with devices just to get up out of nature of what we can get. And so when that happens, then that's when we have catastrophic events that take place like this, as far as nuclear power. You know, what it costs to make the very things that we see, as far as these cars, these computers, all of this technology. You know, that causes a very problem with our ozone layer. So one of the things that you see that they try to do is they try to fix or control nature, but then again, some of them try to fix it, because we can use certain events of trying to repair the ozone layer, but it's going to cause another effect because we don't know the origin of it, and we still don't really have the manual of how these things function and work to its full capacity. And so you can cause the very events that we see today. But for the most part, I think that these are actually events that has take place because nature itself is spewing man out. In other words, it's against us. It's against us. And so when we look at it, God has caused it to be against us due to the fact of our very world is affected by what's going on, because God has detached himself from this world and from his social system. And so when we look at, if God has attached himself from his world, or this even this solar system, then he's the eternal power to cause all these things to function properly. And if they're not functioning properly, then
we're going to get with the type of things that we see that's going on today. You know, the earth not yielding forth its full strength, and then us trying to come up with these devices to try to contain natural things, or master nature, or master the very events that we see today, and it's an ongoing process. So I'm not sure, you know, that could be a possibility, but at the same time, there's just some natural things that's just going to happen. You know, even if we say that they didn't play with it, just on us on being on these TVs, these plates, these technologies, these new phones, all this stuff takes a great amount of nuclear power to do so. And so when you look at these nuclear plants and different things, or just these different factories, to engineer these things, it cost us a lot. It cost us a lot to do so. Civilization, agriculture, and those very things cost us a lot. Food, for preservation, that stuff goes into the atmosphere. And also we got to look at what's going on outside of the earth, you know, as far as the universe, what's going on within our solar system of those planets that is attached to the earth. You know, whether it's asteroid, meteors, or different things just cause these type of problems within our very atmosphere, solar flares. Oh, excuse me, all those things we got to give account for. So that could be a possibility.
All right. And you know, and then remember, man, these natural disasters and stuff, man, is a result of sin, man. You know, Adam, you know, committed in the beginning, man, and it set everything into a downward spiral. You know, prior to them, man, everything was peaceful. You know, the earth yielded its strength. You know, all the crops, all the stuff, man, didn't even need to. We didn't have to work as hard as we, you know, have to today for food. You know, those things wasn't going down. There was no reason for, you know, natural disaster. Everything was at peace. But you know, but just as with the body that decays, you know, as a result of, you know, this flesh has to die because of the result of sin. You know, it's the same thing with everything. I mean, the very nature that we live amongst, you know, the trees and the animals themselves, you know, some going extinct and all this kind of stuff, man. Just everything went into a downward spiral. Everything went out of the way it was when God originally designed it. You know, even the fact that we eat meats today, you know, that alone showed the change that happened, you know, as a result of the flood, obviously. You know, but as we read in Genesis, you know, prior to the flood, you know, man nor the beast ate each other, nor ate meat at all. So everything was changed, man, as a result of that decision that, you know, Adam and Eve made in the garden. And you know, now we have these, you know, tempests and these different things that, you know, God wreaking judgment on the earth because of the wickedness of men. You know, the different earthquakes and all this different stuff, famines, pestilences, and stuff like that. But as the gospel says, you know, at the same time, the Lord is long suffering. You know, in terms of Christ returning back, you know, the fact that the Lord has not returned back to just wreak total wrath on the wickedness of men. You know, to count the Lord, as Peter said in 2 Peter 3:15, you know, count the Lord, the long suffering of our Lord is salvation. He tells you up above, you know, the Lord's not slack concerning his promises. Men count slackness, but through his long suffering, or his long suffering with us, because he doesn't want any to perish, but that all come to repentance. So even though we see these calamities and stuff like that, you know, the main goal, you know, with these things, is that men repent. And a lot of times when these things happen, that's when you see people all of a sudden find love for one another now. I mean, you're just at each other's throats the week before, and then here comes, you know, Harvey, tear up the place, and then all of a sudden reality sets in and people realize what it is that they need. And now you see people caring for one another now because of disaster. You know, it shouldn't take that, but with the hardness of men and because our, you know, the sinful nature and men living the way they want to, and long as everything's good, no man seeketh God. So what happens? Calamities come, you're knocked down, you're humbled, and now you start to think things over now. That's like with anybody, you know. So that's when you see people now, you know, they love one another. Ain't no black white thing. You got, you know, doggone people. For some people still have hatred for sure. But for the most part, the coming together and the helping one another or showing love for your neighbor when calamities strike is a greater numeral value than when everything's all good and everything's kind of normal. Everybody's in their phones. Everybody's, going at each other's throats, and we hate white people and we hate black people and all that other stuff going on when nothing really bad is going on in that area. So I mean, it's with anything. It's like with any child, you get a whooping, then you think about what it is that you did. But as long as you're doing evil and you never get caught and nobody ever corrects you and you never get in trouble, you're gonna continue in what it was you was doing.
Yeah, man, let me get off here, man. My wife just texted me. She is for watching to my, yeah, you sleepy. You yawn.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in the studio.
You sleepy because you yawning because you sleepy and you got to get out tomorrow.
Yeah, man.
Let me get on off of here, man, because she definitely watching the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, gonna lay it down, man, and you lay it on up tomorrow, man, because I gotta definitely I gotta go to work tomorrow, man. I gotta go down to Texas tomorrow, actually.
Oh man.
Yeah, I gotta go down. I'll be in Dallas, and then I gotta go be in Austin by Sunday.
Oh man, that ain't far from me, bro. I'm right outside Austin, man.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, man. I'm riding around. I'm about 15 minutes.
When I get down there, man, I'm gonna hit you up. I'll get with you, man.
All right, cool, man.
I'll be down there early, all day Sunday, most likely into the Monday.
All right, cool.
Well, hold on, yeah. So I'll get down there. I'll get down there tomorrow in Dallas, and I'll spend the night in Dallas. And once I get to Dallas, then I'm 3 hours away from Austin, so it's gonna only take me like 3 hours to get to Austin. So once I get to Austin, I'm gonna be just chilling in Austin the whole day until Monday morning, because I got to deliver Monday morning in Austin at 8 a.m. So I'll definitely get with you. Maybe we can get a bite to eat or something, man. And I'll be down that way though.
Cool, sound good, bro.
Yeah, man. Maybe we can shoot one of them. I can get in on that Cadillac video, man. And
hey,
man. You put another scene on there,
hey,
yo,
man. Hey, bro. Hey, they're gonna tell you sold out.
Right. Look. I put on one of them button ups, man, with just the top button.
Yeah.
Button up. look, with some Dickies on, with some Chubb.
Yeah, man. Oh
man, I go back all Pacoima with it since what's crazy about it is Pit Boss from he from Pacoima, right? And I'm from Pacoima too. I used to be a blood out there, Pacoima, right? I used to play 2 P's in the Biz, Pacoima Pyro Bloods, right?
Yeah.
So and it's crazy because out there in Verdugo, because I went to Verdugo, and they got the fire. The fire is like going right out there, like in Verdugo, and in California, it's up in the mountains, up in that Verdugo Hills, just as well. And so, man, we used to go to Verdugo, and then I went also to Van Nuys. But he from Pacoima, he a little bit older than me. And so by the time my time, I was young. Them guys, I'm a little bit up under them. My time in California, they some OGs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of them guys is probably you got what's the other guy? It's another guy, Sharp Spirit. He from Pacoima too. So we talk about certain things, reminisce about certain things. But for the most part, man, I ain't been back in years. But matter of fact, I went up to Verdugo. I went up to Pacoima. I was up in Pacoima probably like around about, I want to say 3 months ago, because I had a delivery up there. And I had a chance to like shoot through my old neighborhood a little bit. And I stayed up to about Lakeview Terrence, man. We used to go up into the mountains, man, up to Gravity Hill and all types of stuff. But man, yeah, so he from the same area, Pit Boss. And so it's funny because he gonna say on his show the other day, he say he from Pacoima, but I think he from Kansas City. Oh. He went in on me, man. I said, this dude a clown, man. Yeah, see, so he went in on me, but it's all good though, Pit Boss, man.
I see you over there, man. You doing your thing on your show, man. He brought out the history about dispensationalism, or dispensationalists. But it's cool, you know. Peace and blessings to Brian. Built for Speed Clinton, man. I appreciate you, brothers, man. You know, and so we're gonna have the brother Isha. I'm sorry, Isha. I always say his name wrong. Isha. We're gonna have him on, and he gonna come on. He's gonna talk about a couple of things next week, man, concerning certain things that happened in the Christian church that he was in. Because see, the thing about it is, man, we just don't really talk about things concerning just in the Black Hebrew Israelite community, but there's some things that's going on in the church, man, that got to be talked about, man.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so, and man, to be honest, man, I ain't even gonna lie with you. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous. Like and this is why you have. And see, we definitely got to talk about this, because we're gonna have to do a class on this, because this is why you got people springing out into these other cults because of what's going on in the churches, whether it's the Black church or the white church. You know, I mean, man, you know, in the Black church, we know, you know, the women, they got these tall hats on, man, they look like Babylonian caps. You know what I'm saying?
Cat in the hat.
Yeah, you got the cat in the hat caps on. You know what I'm saying? Like the little magic caps, you pull a rabbit about them there. Yeah. They got the Babylonian feathers on it, man, and everything, man. You know the little feathers they had in the Near East.
Yeah, little turkey feathers, man.
Right, man. They got them feathers on it, man. They got the twin plumes on their caps. I said, man, ain't nothing changed. Yeah. So then you go over to and then you know, and then I gotta talk about the white church, man, because it's crazy, man. You got these people that's actually, when it talks about serpent, Paul let the serpent bite them, they actually really go on that, man.
Man, bro.
They actually let the serpent bite them. So it's a lot of stuff, man, that's in these churches, man. And then, you know, man, you got these brothers, man, in the white church, man. They sit up there, man, and do them hymns, man. You would think it's an opera house. You like, man, these people ain't got no type, man. These people ain't glorifying God with this, man. So it's a lot of stuff that's going on, man. Christmas trees. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I know we all, you know, and I'm not banging really on it like that, because there's certain things we got to come up out of. You know, there's a significant thing about those that holy day that's around that time, which I too much don't really talk about, because people, you know, they don't really know about what really took place during that time of December the 25th or December the 23rd to the 25th. Right. And so everybody say, oh, that's Nimrod's day, but it's really something significant about that day, astronomical, to take place. That is a great sign, you know, that talks about astronomical things that deal with concerning Christ just as well too. And eventually, once people really start studying certain things, and they'll know, as far as like the Star of Bethlehem, I suggest people really study that, because that's a good teaching, and we can look at it. So it's a lot of things, man, that go on in the church, man. You got people, man, Easter hunting and all Easter bunnies, you know, this crazy stuff, man. Don't really got nothing really to do with the resurrection at all. No. You know, a lot of stuff, man, going on, man, and so the Black and the white church, man, and you know, the Mexican church, you know, this culturally we need to be together, to be honest, you know, because the church I go to, you know, is a multicultural church, and it's a beautiful thing, man. Like, seriously, it's beautiful. And like, we got churches in Florida, we got a church in Florida, we got a church, 2 churches here in St. Louis. You know what I'm saying, and we got a lot of good things going on, singles ministry. And I really don't get to make it like I should, you know what I'm saying, because, you know, I'll be gone on Sundays. But, you know, when I eventually get things together, I'm going to start really getting back involved in the ministry to where I can go on Sundays, because, you know, it's a lot of work to be done. But, man, you go in our church, man, our scenery is beautiful. It's lovely, man. And you can kind of see where the money is really going at, you know what I'm saying. We got missionaries, you know what I'm saying. And I've always been really up on my missionary stuff, because missionaries, that's important. And unfortunately, I didn't really get to go over to Africa because I had got inactive TB at that time. So when I had got inactive TB, you know, you got to get tested and stuff like that a lot before you go, and then you got to get tested when you come back, because you know you might pick up something, or you might get something going there. I mean, you might get something, you know, you might give somebody something they're going there. So I got tested for TB. I think it was like 2003, I believe, and unfortunately I had inactive TB, and so you know I got that from really probably doing prison ministry. You know, that's airborne, so when you're dealing with TB, it's airborne. But I used to do prison ministry, and at that time in the prisons, the rate of TB was so high. Now they kind of contained a lot of that stuff, even HIV and stuff for homosexuality. It was taking place a lot. People was getting HIV in the prisons a lot. So they kind of got a lot of that stuff really tamed a little bit. But yeah, I believe at that point in time I had got got TB. So I didn't really get to go to Africa at that time. But we used to have missionaries every year, and at my old church. And so, you know, just to experience, to go over there and really get the experience. And it's really, you know, from what I heard, you know, my friends that didn't win, it's uncomfortable a little bit because we so used to live in the American way.
Yeah.
And to see people that's in poverty, you know, you see people that's basically that's still burying what they defecate. You know, what they you know, they bury their stuff. If they ain't got toilets, they gotta bury it. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they walk on the stuff where they burying it at. You know, they're not fortunate like us. You know, you gotta be careful too, because women are walking around over there and a lot of them, they walk around with barely with clothes on. So you gotta have a covenant with your eyes, because there's some women over there, you know, that you know, you get in some trouble just looking like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, you got to be careful, especially if you're trying to fight lust and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, those are some of the things you got to look at. You could be sitting right there, just sitting there, and you know, you got bugs. It's the size of man, just crazy big. So I've heard stories from my friend, and you just laugh about it or whatever, because they be like, man, you sure you want to go to Africa, man? I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to go, but it's you have to prepare yourself for that type of lifestyle. But they got it now to where you could be comfortable a little bit more, from what I heard, you know, at the church or whatever, to where, you know, they got better hotels. Wells is another thing. You always helping the people to build to have a great water supply, and we got a sister that's over there right now. Matter of fact, she hasn't done it. It's been like probably like about a year, I believe, a year and a half. I don't know. I haven't heard from her, but she usually email me, and she'll email me like pictures and all types of stuff, and videos and stuff. And they do the work over there, man. And she talk about how you got I don't know, people like, I don't know what type of, I don't know if they Arabs. I think they Arabs. They come in. And they be getting busy, man. Like a lot of Christians, a lot of believers is doing the missionary work over there. They ain't living for reals like that. They get killed a lot, and that's what they don't show you, because you gotta understand, these people are bringing in supplies for these people that's dealing with missionaries, and they bringing in supplies for the people that's in Africa and feeding the people. And so those very supplies is something that's useful to those Arab people that are against Christianity. So you got a lot of missionaries that really come up missing, or come up dead, or a lot of things, you know, that go on there.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, do they deal with the militias and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, that's what it's called, militia. Yeah, so a lot of that going on, man. Because the sister used to be talking about the militia and stuff like that, and you know, just talking about it, like, and you know how, you know, it's deep, like this very supplies that sometimes that they can get, you know, sometimes it get taken away, and sometimes people's life will get taken away, because it's a war between, you know, and then you got the very people that's supposed to be protecting the country, and when they see that these supplies are coming in, sometimes they in cahoots with the militia. So it's just it's wild, man. It's like, in these last days, people are betraying each other for food, and it's many of Christians that's getting killed today that's in Africa. You don't see it, but it definitely happens. It definitely happens. And that was like I want to say 2 years or a year ago. I haven't even heard from her, but she used to be telling me about a lot of those things that goes on how somebody raiding the village and stuff like that, and how there's really not enough forces to really fight out the militia because there's other stuff that's going on. And so they just need a lot of help over there. You know what I'm saying? So those are the things that we don't really hear about. But there's a war between Islam and those that are, are the state. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of Christians missionaries are right there in the midst of that, and they giving their lives. And the thing about it is, a lot of these teens that go over there, they're young.
Yeah.
They're around about like 18 to 19 years old, and they're young people. And what they ain't telling you is a lot of the people come up missing and become hostages of those people that are Arabics or Islam.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stuff going on over there. So we was already prepped on certain things that we will go through, when it was going to be my time to go. Unfortunately, those are some of the things that take place to happen. At one point in time, they had a tame, on certain things, but it's getting back how it used to be now. How it used to be back in the days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing, man. It's just really, getting back in things. Prison ministry was a great ministry for me because you go up there, you get to minister to those guys who's in prison. And a lot of times, probably 85% of the prisons is dealing with Islam because that's the fastest growing religion in the prisons. Now it's starting to be this conscious movement thing, but people are not even really taking that seriously because the Islam thing, man, that thing, man, is deep. It's like cold. You know what I'm saying? That's like cold up in the prisons, man. That thing is deep. Yeah, so that's just the deal, people. With that, I think tomorrow I'm gonna be driving all day, but for the most part, I'm gonna try to drive early so I can get off early, and then do a show tomorrow because I really want to address some of the things concerning some things that I've been seeing today on people's YouTube channels for the past couple of days. I have not got the chance to address, but I ain't forgot about it. So we're gonna address that thing, especially dealing with that thing that I think it was Colossians. Somebody had brought out talking about what was it? What has been nailed to the cross, basically. So we're gonna bring out some of that stuff and deal with some of that stuff, and also got a little show coming up. I think I want to say this Wednesday and Thursday. I think that Vocab talked to you about that show, Brother John.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna deal with some stuff just as well. So yeah, we doing some things, we moving. Try to do what we can. With that, I want to say peace and blessings. Make sure y'all click and subscribe and make sure y'all share. Appreciate you, Brother Jay, for coming out. It's always a privilege, brother.
No problem, bro.
And most likely when I get down to Austin, man, I'll be speaking with you then.
All right, cool. Sound good, bro.
All right, peace.
I'll see you then.